So, a fun fact that you might not know about me is that I have had anxiety my entire life. And it changes throughout your life, but I think a lot of people see my videos and they think, oh my god, she's fearless, she's so brave, she must not have any anxiety. And I'm here to tell you that is completely wrong. And I think it's kind of interesting to observe how anxiety changes throughout your lifetime. And I feel like one thing that I've always struggled with is social anxiety. Like, I know that sounds funny because I literally share my entire life on the internet. But when it comes to like being in person, large crowds intimidate me and I get overwhelmed really easily when there's lots of people around. Even when I'm out in nature and like I'm in a busy place where there's lots of people, I find myself getting really tense and anxious and I'm like, dude, it's fine. But yeah, I don't know why sharing online isn't the same. Maybe it's because I am here alone, so it's not as freaky to talk. um, Most of my friends are like, it's so weird that you have a YouTube channel and yet you get so shy in person. I'm like, yeah, I know. But that's my social anxiety that I've been, working through. And I feel like maybe being online has helped me with it and has opened me up to being more social. Also, my job as an English tutor. Um, if you don't know, for 3 years before YouTube became my job, I was a conversational English tutor. And I think that job really helped me um, with opening up the camera and saying hello to a complete stranger and having to make 30 minutes of conversation. I think that job really pushed me out of my comfort zone when it came to my social anxiety, and that really helped me. So I'm very grateful for that job, although I don't do that anymore. Only for famous people. Well, I'm not a famous person, so. But yeah, social anxiety has been a thing throughout my life. Also, I used to really struggle with like change in plans and uncertainty, and it was really hard for me to just go with the flow. I always needed to know the plan. And if something went wrong with the plan, I would just have a panic attack. And I think traveling and forcing myself out of my routine and having no plan is what has helped me kind of work through that in a way, because now, like living in my car, I actually really love not having a plan and being able to just go with the flow and travel based on what I'm feeling that day. And if I want to stay in a spot, I stay in a spot. And if I want to move on, I move on. And like that's a really cool thing about car camping is it has really taught me to let go of the plan and not have so much anxiety over that. But that's not to say that my anxiety is completely gone since I've been car camping and English tutoring, like those are two, you know, things that I would consider were a form of exposure therapy for me in a way. But yeah, I think the movie Inside Out 2 really portrayed anxiety in a cool way as acknowledging that like anxiety is always there. Anxiety is something that is designed to protect you. And the only time it becomes a problem or an issue is when anxiety gets into overdrive and is spinning out of control. If you haven't watched the new Inside Out movie, I highly recommend. But yeah, so for me personally, I feel like anxiety is something that will always be there. And like I've had to find exposure therapy techniques as well as like meditation tools and yoga and things to help calm me down in the moment if I can't really do anything to change the moment, and like having those tools to come back to. But like anxiety is always there, and honestly sometimes I'm very grateful that it is, because I feel like my anxiety is what has kept me safe for the past 2.5 years traveling alone, both abroad and in my car. Which, if you're new around here, there's a mosquito. If you're new around here, I actually have a playlist on my channel that titled Start from the Beginning, where you can literally watch all of my vlogs from when I started vlogging 4 years ago now, all the way through now. So I think that's also a really kind of cool way to see how my personality has changed over the 4 years. I like being able to go back and reflect, even if I don't always like listening to my own voice in video recordings. Fun fact. But yeah, I've had anxiety that entire time, and it's interesting how what triggers my anxiety has changed over the course of time. And right now, I feel like the most recent trigger for my anxiety is no longer, not having a plan or social anxiety, kind of, but not as bad as it used to be. Now, I feel like I have a lot of anxiety after my thumb accident, being out by myself, and I'm terrified of putting myself in a situation where I have to go through all of that again. Like driving myself an hour and a half to the ER and getting stitches and having to pay for that, and then also having to like wait for it to heal, and like it was a lot mentally, and I have a lot of anxiety around having to go through that again. And with my lifestyle, I'm putting myself out here in these situations where things could possibly go wrong. I know that. I think it's funny when people leave comments on my videos like, oh, but what if this happens? What if that happens? Trust me, I have anxiety, and I've already thought about that situation and already thought through 2, possibly 3 ways that I would handle that situation. So this is what I mean. Like sometimes anxiety is very helpful, but sometimes it becomes too much. And I feel like the last 4 months has been a lot of just constantly thinking, oh, well, this could happen, so I got to be prepared, or this could happen, I got to be prepared, or, this could happen, so I can't go do that. And I think a really good example of this was when I went to Utah and I traveled in my friend's RV for a week. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll link it in the cards here. But basically in that video, I told you about my itinerary for the week and what we did and made it seem like it was a good time. I did talk about struggling a little bit in that video because I didn't want to come off as like fake. But like during that week, I probably had at least 3 or 4 panic attacks where I just like shut down and I like didn't want to go do what we were going to go do, simply because I was always afraid of, we went rock climbing and I was afraid of falling and getting injured. And like I knew that I was stable and I knew that I was on stable ground, but we were also next to like a giant cliff. If you rock climb, there's usually like an ascent in order to get to the rocks. So I wasn't even rock climbing, I was just hanging out, and I had like a panic attack, like looking over the edge, like, well, what if I fall? I can't handle getting injured again. What if? And I just spiraled. I've just begun to notice how much my anxiety has come back in ways that I feel like it wasn't before. Like, yeah, I was always thinking about what could happen and preparing for the worst. But I feel like since my thumb, it's been like kind of consuming me. And I've been really working on, putting myself in these situations where, yeah, I'm in a forest by myself. And I know that certain things could happen. But I'm also forcing myself to just sit here and relax and film videos today because that's what I came here to do. I came up here to relax, and I don't need to have these anxious thoughts in my brain. So, while I'm very grateful for anxiety for keeping me safe throughout the years, a large part of my like coming back to my self-care routine are the things that help me manage my anxiety: my yoga, my meditation, my breath work. So, that's not just like a superficial level like self-care. It's literally how I manage my anxiety. And I think my main takeaway through all of this, and what I want the takeaway of this video to be, is you can have anxiety and still go do the things that you want to do. You don't have to let fear and anxiety stop you or hold you back. But you also have to be able to understand yourself and have that self-awareness to take care of your anxiety when it comes up, because it will come up. And you can't always rely on other people or a therapist or medications to relieve that anxiety. So it's good to acknowledge the anxiety and be like, I see you. But what I've been working with recently is like, I have anxiety, but anxiety is not in control. I am. I'm in control of my life. Anxiety is there. Anxiety is kind of like a protector. But ultimately, it's my life and I can do whatever I want to do. So, that's what I've been working on. to learn more about how to use yoga to improve your mental health, be sure to check out the Mind on Yoga Academy. This is a place that I've created where I not only share lecture videos to teach you the scientific research as well as the yogic philosophies behind why this yogic practice is so beneficial for our mental health, but I also include pre-recorded yoga classes in locations just like this, guided meditations, guided breathworks, and journaling exercises to help you practice what you're learning in the lecture videos. So if you're interested, you can check out the link in the description. Thanks for coming to Alana's hammock therapy session where I just word vomited everything that I've been thinking about my anxiety recently. But I'm curious, let me know down in the comments, do you struggle with anxiety? What kind of anxiety do you struggle with? And what do you feel like anxiety is holding you back from right now? And how can you start to take steps to take back control over your life? If you're comfortable, leave your answers in the comments. I always enjoy reading those because the people who stay to the end of my videos are always really cool. And I feel like my long form videos are literally me just sitting and hanging out with you. So thanks for hanging out. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe down below if you just listen to me ramble about anxiety and want to see more about my life and how I travel with anxiety. Make sure to subscribe, and I hope to see you guys again in my next video. Bye!